All right, people. My bad, my bad, my bad. Woo! Xbox didn't like me talking about those bots. They shut me down. Shut him down. Shut him down. All right. Let me get back here to... Let me just do a couple things. So I had to reboot my PC. That was weird. But I think I know the last part that y'all saw. So... All right, we back in effect. Yeah, we live. Okay, let me do this. Oh, I don't like that sound. The hell was that? Okay, we're going to take this. We're going to go to Twitter. And I'm going to say, we are back on air with part 2. Take that, and then we're going to take this. Boom. Tweet it out. Do me a favor. Do your boy a big favor. You know, throw this on all the social media joints. You know what I'm saying? You know, show the boy some love. You know what I mean? I appreciate all of y'all straight up. I'm just going to hit this up on Facebook real quick. Yeah. Okay. We are back. That's not everything I copied. So why? Okay. That's not everything we are. Okay. Excuse me, my deepest apologies, everybody. We're going to get back into this because I knew exactly where it's at. Phil ain't going to silence me. Phil is not going to silence me. All right. Post that out there. Boy, I tell you. Finally got my wife. Finally, if y'all follow y'all boy MM2K, you know what I'm saying? My wife be on me, man. She be on me big time. All right, let me see. There's another group that I want to put this in, and then I'll be done. And then we can get back. We can get back into the meats and potatoes. Let me see. Let's do this. Okay, I didn't want to do that per se. Boo, 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 boo. Okay, let's do one more thing. Let's see more. I want to see the groups in general. Oh, hold on. Who is this? Hold on. Let me see. Okay. What else? Here's another group. Sorry about that. It's my daughter. I'm gonna have to hit her up. Once I get done. One more group. Oh, I forgot about these cats. These cats is out here. They vocal. All right. All right. And then what I'm gonna do is I gotta go to the old video. Go to Discord too. No, Discord is right there. Okay, just open the daggone Discord and tell you, man. All this stuff is just, and that's why I tell y'all, man. This whole thing, Discord is cutting up. Hey, yo, Discord, leave my man alone, man. I'm looking at this pic. Hey, yo, that's Z. Y'all fucking stupid. We are back on air. Hey, man, y'all gotta join this Discord. It's crazy. All right, so let me close that out. Okay, and then what I gotta do is on the comments, let me see. Sorry for stream stop. Here's part 2. Boom. All right, and then we're going to comment right there. And then we're going to pin that puppy. Whoa. Damn, somebody got some old school sounds up there. All right. So let me get back into the meat and potatoes, everything, before Phil tried to have my internet cut off. You know what I'm saying? Because I already talked about how my pony brethren was looking hypocritical out here, right? I was looking real spooky. Talking about, we for the devs. We for the devs. That's why we don't want this DRM stuff. We for the devs. But y'all so for the devs, but y'all wouldn't go along with this the DRM that Xbox was trying to do. Why? Because it affected y'all and y'all still wanted the physical copies to be a viable option. Y'all wanted the footprint of physical copies to still have a big spot in your world of gaming. So that's why you didn't go for it. And it is what it is. And the community just accepted it as it is, whether they liked it or not, right? People may have mumbled on their podcast to the side and complain, this ain't right to let Xbox do the DRM. But we get it. And we took it as the general public consensus that y'all didn't want that DRM. Whether y'all want it now or not, don't matter. Y'all did not want that DRM. Y'all ain't got it. We moved on. So if that's the case, and I can't be a PC guy come looking at y'all and say, dude, we got DRM all over PC. It don't matter. It don't do nothing to your experience. Y'all stupid. Y'all would get better deals if things were digital anyway. That's true. But that's y'all's console experience. We have nothing to say there. And again, I get that there are some people that are responding to this only to poke fun at the PC people. But there are some people that are really like angry and upset that PC is upset about this. That PC gamers are upset about this. Like I said, y'all been drinking Kool-Aid all y'all lives and now y'all trying to advance to wine taste testing. Stop it. So that's for my pony brethren. For my Xbox peoples, I'm going to let y'all know this. Y'all have no ground whatsoever, none, to complain about PC wanting features. Like I said, y'all have no grounds. Why do I say y'all have no grounds? Because why do y'all have an Xbox if it ain't for features? Xbox is not giving you anything outside of features that you can't get anywhere else. Now you may say Live is a little bit better, right? Just a little bit. Because Live has been going down recently and Xbox Live chat been sucking as of late. It's not that big of a difference like it was last gen or prior. So for you to give up on games that y'all say that this is all about y'all getting the raw game. If it's about raw games, why in the hell do y'all have an Xbox? If we're crying over features, you don't even have a seat at the argument table. At least the ponies, they got to sit at the little table. Y'all don't have a seat at no table. So shut the hell up. Y'all, this is crazy. And here's the biggest travesty of all for Xbox people complaining about this whole Epic Store situation. Here's the biggest irony of it. The biggest irony of it is PC gamers are used to a plethora of features being part of their PC experience. Anybody attempting to launch a serious launcher, like how Epic is trying to do, big ups to Philosopher Doom. Anybody trying to launch a launcher, a serious launcher like Epic is trying to do, knows that these are essential features. Look at EA Origins. And EA Origins has more games than EA games out there. They have other PC games too that they've worked with and got on the platform. But they understand what the PC experience is about. It's about openness, and it's about these cloud saves and a lot of things that you can do, along with the frames, along with the modding and all this other stuff. This is what makes the PC experience, and why PC gamers want to go beyond the console. Now, there's pros and cons. Console has its plug and play, but for the people that don't care about the plug and play and want to go more advanced with their gaming experience, then PC's where it's at. So again, if you're driving a Prius, you can't get mad at the guy with the Lamborghini if his Lamborghini ain't hitting from 0 to 60 fast enough. You're in a Prius! Shut the hell up! But the biggest thing for Xbox gamers, why I say y'all don't even have a seat at the table, while y'all sitting there trying to jump on this bandwagon and join forces with the PlayStation people because they're bigger in numbers and now y'all feel special, is that if what you're saying had any validity, then y'all would be playing Wrecking Zone out the wazoo. Wrecking Zone for Crackdown 3 would have never been a problem. Never been a problem. But guess what? Wrecking Zone did not include what feature? A feature which was in-game lobbies. Oh, now all of a sudden it matters. Now all of a sudden y'all whining and crying to Sumo Digital, to Xbox, to Phil matters. That matters. Excuse me. That a garbage game, one crappy garbage game with a Metacritic of 5 something, I think, did not have a feature in its crappy multiplayer, its garbage multiplayer. That matters. But PC gamers getting essential features that are in all of their experience, in all of their AAA good games, don't matter. They don't matter. I don't understand. Whoa. Where's the logic? They don't matter? So that's why this whole console fiasco with the console people wanting to interject their thoughts into this is bullpucky. It's a farce. It's a farce. It means nothing. Your console words mean nothing. Again, PlayStation people. If it's all about just playing the game in the day, then y'all would, if it's all about the devs, if it was all about the devs and just playing the game, no matter how it comes and just dealing with it, right? Then y'all would have dealt with DRM. You're still getting the game regardless of all the features. And if it was all about the camera all like that and the online, just unplug the camera. Just plug in the online every 24 hours if it was all like that. Right? Why are you complaining? PC people could have looked at y'all and said, why are y'all complaining? We didn't interfere in y'all what to do. Because we knew better. And I say we like I'm a PC gamer. Yeah, I'm wearing that out today. But I'm just saying, y'all, like, come on. The hypocrisy is oozing, as I like to say. It's oozing. And there's no excuse for it. See if I can go back to part 1. Still hitting up some other groups. Some other things said in the chat prior that I missed, and I deeply apologize because the stream went out earlier on part 1. But I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we are now live. We are live. So now that I've gotten to that part, and we've had to smack some people with the Unity ring, it's okay. And bring them back to their senses. I just want to say this. I had to just, I just want to say this. Let's talk about competition. Let's have a thorough and thoughtful conversation about competition. Okay? Let's not talk this idiocy. Let's not talk stupid. Let's have a thorough and thoughtful conversation about competition and what it means to you as a consumer. Right? Because right now we're just having the idiot horde conversations. As I explained in the first part of the video, we're having the idiot horde. We're having people talk about stuff that they have no idea what they're talking about. Therefore, they sound like idiots. But now that you've been educated, and you ain't got to sound like no damn idiot no more, let's get into it. Let me see here. I'm going to go to my original video. Let me see, is it still processing? Okay, no, the original video is not processing anymore. Let me go to my new one. But I just wanted to kill that time, let people come back in the chat for that. Okay. Missed part 1. Here it is. Boom, 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 boom. Comments. Okay, there we go. So, let me do one more broadband. Bullies. Did I put it in Bullies? Golly. Crap. See, by me keep doing this, going back and forth. We're live now. Okay. Let me see. Broadband Bullies. Yeah. Okay, I got it. We're back on there. I got the Bullies. Did I get Bang Bang? I think I got Bang Bang. Joystick Junkies. Okay. Yep. Just hitting up a couple people, y'all. Just making sure. You know, that really threw me off. We are back on air. Okay. And I think we're good now. I think we got everybody that we missed, that we originally sent it out to, because people were engaged. So people may not be aware that we are back on air. All right. Okay, and come on. And I think, hold on, my homie Pop-Off. Where's homie Pop-Offs? Yeah, I gotta get homie Pop-Offs on here. Okay. We are back on air. Sorry about this, folks. Just making sure that I'm getting everything in order. Very important discussion. I don't want people that are engaged in this to miss a minute of it. To miss a minute of it. All right. Let's do this. Okay. There's people that I forgot to hit even the first time around. All right. And then let's do this. Okay. And that will be it. That will be it. Okay. So now let's talk about competition. Now that we've gone over the Epic Games Store situation and why people are upset and why people have different opinions about it. And now that I've gone over my epiphany in this whole situation, I originally was out there like a lot of people, like a lot of my ignorant console gaming brethren, because I was one of them too. In January, I posted something. I was making fun of the, my PC brethren, right? I put something out there. I said, why are you guys crying? about Metro Exodus coming to the Epic Store. Y'all act like blah, 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 and all this other stuff is going to happen. Like, stop it. As a matter of fact, I think I could still find the tweet. I closed it out. Well, I got closed out when I was, here we go. I'm gonna bring it back. Let's bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Transition. There it goes. All right. So that's me. January 30th at the talk of Epic Store getting a Metro exclusively, even though it was timed. I said, MFers act like Metro and Epic Store is going to make all babies go into spontaneous combustion and send lava flowing into the metropolitans. If y'all so mad, go to Valve instead of whining to the choir and tell them to make the splits more competitive. This ish will end in a Thanos snap. Like a lot of the... Hey, look. Now reading that was the most intelligent sounding bunch of hyperbabble that I may have ever hit send on. Because that was from a place of ignorance that I'm even embarrassed to even look at right now. But if you're not the wiser, it looks like it's riddled in common sense, right? I even had the little baby on there, you know what I'm saying? It looks like it's riddled in common sense and knowledge. That, hey, basically what I'm saying is, hey, people are going to the Epic Game Store because they're getting better splits. So because they're getting better splits, stop whining PC people and ask Valve to start giving them better splits. And it was deeper than that. It was a lot deeper than that. Devil Shooter, what's up? Thank you for coming back. But because of my own ignorance and me flying off the cuff with that, it made me send out that cyber babble. And I'm not going to delete it. I need to own up to what the stupid, silly stuff that even I say. If I want other people to own up to it, I'm going to have to own up to the stuff that I say. And that was just out of a place of ignorance. And I know better. So, with that being said, let's talk about competition. Exclusivity. Everybody talks about the reason why this is good. But here's something to think about. Exclusivity is not the form of competition. Like, people are out here talking like exclusivity is the way to go if you want to compete. Like, that's it. If you're talking about competing, then something has to be exclusive. Meaning you got to pay or fight to have something on your system that is not somewhere else. Or in your restaurant or something like that that's not somewhere else. Like, that is the way to compete. You can't compete really in no serious way unless it comes to exclusivity. Excuse me. And I want to enlighten everybody and let you know that's not necessarily true. Now, people are taking this debate between Microsoft and Xbox, and they're making that, they're trying to whitewash that across the board for everything. Okay. Exclusivity means blocking off. It's synonymous with blocking off. I am blocking off access to something. Here's your way to get it. Now, in the console world, exclusivity, yes, is key. But in the PC world, where you're not talking about selling consoles, but you're talking about storefronts, for crying out loud, this form of exclusivity is a detriment. PC is meant to be an open access community. Hence why modding and things like that are cool. All of the PC is all about openness. So when you're talking about storefronts, having exclusive rights to something, then there has to be a bigger and better package included if you want this to be accepted. Exceptions would be the Origin store. Of course, they're going to exclusively have all their EA stuff. The Uplay store. Exclusively have all their Ubisoft stuff. The Bethesda store. They're going to exclusively have all of their Bethesda stuff because they created that. That's going to be viewed as natural progression. But if I'm a third-party storefront and I want to exclusively pull my stuff to certain stuff to my store that I have not created, that I've bought, that people were able to experience prior outside of this ain't something brand new. This ain't a brand new IP or a brand new experience or a brand new company behind it. This is a series that I've experienced. I love now, and you've come in the forefront when the series is at its peak. And now you want to benefit off of it, not by giving me a superior product, by influencing me in a positive way to your store, but by strong-arming me to your store while I'm grumbling. Y'all say that's great business. No, that's not. Customer satisfaction is key. Now, the customers ain't got to be in love with you. But their customer satisfaction means that you have a certain percentage of the people that have to interact with you happy with your product. And you're not going to get acceptable rates of that if you're forcing people to a product that they really don't like. And that's more prevalent on PC than it is anywhere else, because PC is not just about the raw game. If it was just about the raw game, then people would go solely with the console experience. PC is about the raw game in combination with the openness of the features, of the modding, stuff like that. It makes up the whole experience. So again, I beckon it to the example. Don't come to me if I own a Lamborghini and I'm mad that the Lamborghini ain't hitting 0 to 60 at the acceptable times if you're driving a Prius. And you come over to me, well, just be happy that it drives. That's not what I bought the car for. I bought a Lamborghini. You're in a Prius. Shut the hell up. Got it? Good. So let's move on. Now, even though I'm saying all this, and I've said everything that I've said on Twitter, I want to make something abundantly clear, because I hear this a lot, and I hear this from people, again, that can't out-debate the points that I'm making, so they just got to win somewhere. I have never, to this point, I have never expressed any anger towards Epic. I've never said anything disparaging about Epic. I've only said disparaging things about their store. I'm not mad at Epic. I understand why they're doing this. Fortnite is about to get slapped in the Unity ring with the Unity ring on some Rick James stuff by by Apex Legends. It's week by week losing viewership. People are looking to cross over. All this stuff. From a market perspective, Epic is doing great because they are dominating. They're bringing in dominating figures. Like I tell you guys all the time, you got to understand the market. You can't do fantastic in 2018 and then do, pretty good in 2019. The people that invested their dollar in you in 2018, that dollar had a certain value once they put it into that company. That value goes down if your performance and the revenue that you bring in lessens. That's how the market works. So Epic has to continue to do fantastic. And they understand that in order for them to do that, they got to dominate somewhere else. Because Fortnite is not going to be it. They truly don't add a talent. They didn't come up with Battle Royale. They ripped the code from Bluehole using some loophole because Bluehole used their engine. I would never use Epic's engine again. That's a whole nother kit and caboodle, though. They ripped the code using some bylines, I guess, in the contract that Bluehole wasn't aware of. Ripped the code for the Battle Royale, implemented it in a failing game, which was Save the World, I guess, or whatever it was that Fortnite originally was. Implemented that in their game, made Kazillions, just do a whole bunch of gear and stole dances and all this other stuff, and they came up with Fortnite. Epic of now is not the Epic that we knew of the past. That brain force is gone. They no longer have the juice when it comes to innovation. There's nothing innovative about Epic anymore. So I'm not mad at it. I mean, this is what you expect. If I see a rabid dog in an alleyway and it's foaming at the mouth, but it's on the chain, and I say, well, I want to hurry up and get home, and I decide to still go down that alleyway because it's going to be quicker, and I get bit by the rabid dog, I mean, what else did I expect? And Epic acts like rabid dogs right now. This is what they're about. I'm not surprised. Tim Sweeney is a hypocrite. He sat out there not too long ago when UWP, and UWP was a form of programming that allowed the programming of a game on PC to kind of like synonymously be synonymously, goddamn, I can't talk, coexist on the Xbox platform and made it uniform. But it didn't work out the way that Xbox planned it to work out, so they got other initiatives going on. But when UWP was coming to the forefront, Tim Sweeney had his crybaby ass up there. Well, UWP is going to take away the openness of PC gaming and limit PC games to one store, which is the Windows Store, and it's crappy. Oh. But guess what? You have the audacity to whine about that, but at least Microsoft owns Windows. They can do whatever the hell they want. They own it. But that's not what UWP was to be about. But you did all this whining and crying. So what? When you did all this whining and crying, Tim Sweeney, you said, "Oh, instead of me crying about it, if you can't beat them, join them." I made all this whoop to do about what I thought UWP was going to be. But you know what? That'd be a great deal for us to do. So Tim Sweeney's a hypocrite. Epic is some innovative list, rabid dogs. Tim Sweeney's a hypocrite. I'm not surprised, and I'm not mad at them. I have not said anything disparaging about them until this moment in all my tweets. I'm truly disappointed at the publishers. I'm disappointed at the publishers for taking the money in spite of us, because this is not going to work out in the long term. This is like what I said in part one of this whole video. In part one, where I bought the one coffee, it's good, I like it. There was a competitor out there that was somewhat stronger, that seemed like they had some, the caffeine in it had some momentum, but an hour later I was sitting there yawning, where the coffee I'm drinking right now, the way I'm screaming and yelling right now, throwing my back out, screaming so loud, I could do this all day on this coffee. So this strategy of Epic has no longevity. Again, it don't take a blind orangutan can see. Epic has no innovation anymore. There's nothing innovative about Epic. They're being sued for stealing dances. They can't even make their own dances. Excuse me. They stole the code for Battle Royale from Bluehole. And it, because of a loophole in their contract, was able to get away with it. There's nothing innovative to the gaming hardcore that Epic was able to produce. So in order for them to keep their high-end money intact and pretty much take over another avenue, they looked at all their resources and said, well, we got this Epic store, but you got to go against Steam. Well, we got to do something. And like I said in part one of this whole episode, They are paying, it's reported that they're paying more money to these publishers than they would ever make on PC, period. That's why the publishers are signing the deal. It ain't no 88-12 split. Let's think about it, people. Come on. Y'all got to put on y'all goddamn thinking caps. 70% of 10,000 people is way more than 88% of 5 people. 70% of 10,000 people is way more than 88% of 5 people. It ain't no goddamn 88-12 split that made these people come over. It's this extra money they're getting from Epic. Let me go to the chat. Doom said, "Better watch it. The Neo Emerald Occult. You see what what happened to Z exactly? They been coming for me, bro." The Assassin says, "The Assassin 596 pickups of Assassin 596. Thank you for joining us." He says, "King K Rule versus Sweetie Bot. Ho will win. Paper." Double Shooter says, "If game devs are going to Epic Store willingly because the revenue split, your tweet is right. Valve needs to change their revenue split to avoid losing games, regardless it's right or wrong." And that's the thing, Devil Shooter. My tweet was wrong. I said that from a place of ignorance. As I just stated, it's been reported that Epic is paying these developers more money than they would make. They're doing analysis and they're figuring out, along with them, how much money it would make on PC sales altogether. And they're saying, we're going to give that to you and some. So let's just say, okay, when they approach Metro, they said, look, or Borderlands, Randy Pitchford and them, or 2K, because Randy proclaimed that he had nothing to do with this. And I believe him on that one. I got a lot of things to say about Randy, but I believe him there. That, that Epic approached 2K and said, look, the numbers show that Borderlands is going to make, I'm just throwing this out, in its first year it's going to make 90 million, or in its first 6 months. It's going to make 90 million. I tell you what, we're going to give you that and some. We're going to throw in an extra 10 million. Why don't we give you 100 million and you sell exclusively on our store? That way, if you feel like because our store isn't large enough, or it's not popular enough, or there's going to be any backlash, you're going to get the money that you were going to get anyway and potentially get some more money. How about that? And the publishers are taking that up. They're gobbling that up. So that's why these people are converting over. It's not the 88-12 split. Think about it. The Epic store is crappy. Nobody really wants to go there because Epic has not put anything into it. It is like the worst launcher on PC. So because it is the worst launcher on PC, nobody's going to go there willingly. So the customer base, the customer saturation is low. So even if they are giving them a bigger split, which I was ignorant to, even though they're giving them a bigger split, again, that's 88% of what, 50 people? I'm just throwing numbers out there. But equivalent to that, Steam would have 10,000. So you're going to get more raw money from Steam, even with the 70-30 split, than you would from Epic. Now, you had Ubisoft come out there and say that we're trying to change the momentum and get things ready for the devs. You know, get things better for the devs, and we want y'all to support the devs. And people that don't understand PC gaming, it's more the console gamers, like, yeah, go ahead, go for it. They don't understand. If y'all were all for the devs and y'all thought this was cool, then y'all would have went with the Xbox style DRM, like I said earlier. So that's that. 706 Gamer said, let me get some of that coffee. He said, I'm at work dead. Hey, bro, commonplace, bruh. Or go to hey, yo, if you want a quick jolt for an hour, go to Starbucks and get some of their Nitro cold brew. It'll give you a jolt for a good hour, but I was yawning. That's like it's the Epic Game Store coffee. It's going to be good for a good hour. Daniel B. also said, I think those devs, Fishers, are doing this to send a message to Valve. Yes and no. That's what I originally thought. Like when Ubisoft said that the Division 2 was going to come. Nobody cried about the Division 2 because the Division 2 was also available on Uplay. So it's not about, see, you see that? So it's not about fanboying because you got to use another launcher. If that was the case, people would cry about Uplay and cry about Origins. This is not the issue. This is bigger than a launcher. Epic Store is doing some things, I'm going to get into it a little bit, that nobody likes. Epic would be cool with me if they implemented game sharing. Thank you. Like, damn, something as simple as game sharing. Okay, you don't want to do that? Cloud saves? This is PC gaming in 2019. Cloud saves are essential. This is not console gaming where you just want to do everything sitting on front of your couch. You know what I'm saying? That's console gaming. That's how y'all do it. That's the Prius style of gaming. PC gamers are gamers. Like, I know people that play Ark. I'm going to tell you a story. I know people that play Ark. One guy that I know, he's an IT person. He travels all over the world. Fortune 500 companies all over the world. Traveling all the time, right? He's a big Ark fan, right? Imagine if Ark all of a sudden was exclusive to the Epic Game Store with no cloud saves. He has sensitive information on his personal PC, so he's not allowed to take that with him. Okay? Or no. He has sensitive information on his personal PC. He doesn't have a laptop, but he travels all over the world. So what he does is, because it's more economically sound for him, because of how much that he travels, when he lands somewhere, he just rents a laptop for a couple days, installs Ark on it, and goes about his business and all the other fun stuff, right? And then he also writes it off on the company because it's part of his expenses of being out of town. So he makes over on that. Imagine him not being able to load his Ark saves. I mean, that's PC gaming in a nutshell. A lot of PC gamers, they travel. They go to different places and boot up their game. You know what I'm saying? Steam made that prevalent, and other launchers have followed and picked up, and that has become the norm. PC gamers are not the Prius gamers they console gamers on. Just like how y'all went and kicked and screamed and scratched and clawed over some damn DRM that y'all are now accepting like it's nothing in 2019. Save my GameSpot. I mean, come on. How silly, how stupid do y'all sound? Save my GameSpot. Or it's the GameStop. Save it. Like, stop. PC gamers had no say in that. If they were sitting there jumping in that, I would tell them the same thing. Shut up. Console gamers like physical games. That's an option that they like. It's part of their gaming experience. They don't want to see it go anywhere. That's why they didn't like the DRM option, because that would take away the prevalence of the physical copy. So in reverse, y'all don't have a say in this, because PC gaming is on a different echelon. It's different. But again, I digress. I've talked for 40 minutes and I didn't get into gaming the competition like I said I would. Let's talk competition. So again, exclusivity is not, within itself, is not the factor of competition. A better form of competition is what 2K did against Madden. Okay? That was competition. We come up with a better product that just plays and feels better than what Madden is, even though Madden is more popular. And we're going to give the consumer more access to it by cutting the price and making it $20. Remember when that happened? It was pandemonium. That was the first sign of fanboying that got physical that I saw. I remember mugs. Look, there was one GameStop by the hood, right? And normally the GameStops in the hood be all right, where I'm at. Cats came in there buying their Madden or the 2K5, NFL 2K5. You buying that 2K5, and Madden is the king. Shut up. I mean, there was a fist fight that broke out. And of course it had to be one of my cousins. one of the most vocal, big ups to Big Cav. You know who he is. Saved my life one time, man. That's a whole nother story. Big Cav and GameStop. Book that Madden, man. What? What you talking about? He was on the 2K5. So I'm like, yeah, Kevin, because I was on the 2K5 style. I hated Madden. I still kind of do. Because Madden was gimmicky and it wasn't really innovating. That 2K5 was awesome. The best football game ever made. Presentation, all that stuff. Y'all remember that, right? And then, that was a form of competition that is the most beneficial to the consumer. Give them all around a better product, and if you're worried about saturation, make a sacrifice that is meaningful to the consumer. This sacrifice that Epic is doing is meaningful to the developer that necessarily doesn't correlate to the consumer. And before you say that silly stuff again, well, if it's going to be good for the developer, it's automatically going to be good for the consumer. Shut up! Because if you truly believe that, then you would have supported DRM in 2013. Shut up! So, too often, we simplify the meaning of things and that are a lot more complex. And I get why. Life is busy. A lot of decisions to make. We want to feel like we're in control, especially us guys. Oh, we're in control. I know what that's all about. I don't watch football, but I know what that player is doing. So we package things or things that are going on in the world today in an easier way for us to digest. So we could talk about like we're experts of it because we want to be experts at everything. We don't need to do research. I know what that is. Everything's black and white. I was never like that. I always wanted to deep dive or know what the hell I was talking about per experience. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I fall short and I just want to easily digest stuff too. That's why I put out that stupid ass tweet on January 30th. But I had to learn. Had to pull myself back. But that's okay because y'all going to get educated. Let's talk about the forms of competition before we just say competition just coherently is good. There are 3 forms of competition that I want y'all to understand. 3 forms of competition that I want y'all to understand that exist out here that are prevalent, and all of them aren't necessarily beneficial to you, the consumer. Now, me talking business analytics, I can sit there and say, okay, it's a good business move, but just because it's a good business move doesn't coherently make it a good move for you, the consumer. I just gave you an example. We'll talk about it further, but I'm going to talk about it some more. Again, in that example that I gave you, the type of competition that 2K did, which was front-loaded to consumer with a better, cheaper product, opposed to what EA's response was. Which is, we don't know how to come up with a better product. And we definitely ain't going to go cheaper. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to buy the rights to the NFL. Now that was competition, right? How did that work out for y'all? For over a decade, y'all got some lousy ass NFL games per Madden. Only like a couple of them were decent. But y'all ain't got no other choice. But that's competition, right? That's good for you, right? So let's continue on. Competition type 1 is, I like to refer to this as CDC type competition. Consumer driven competition. This is where your competitive initiative is designed to benefit the consumer from implementation in order to drive growth. Let me give you a Fortune 500 example. NFL 2K5, like I said, they came out with a better product, a cheaper product that initially was a front-loaded initiative to the consumer. Now, let me give you like what I like to call a localized example. Like, say if I own a... Okay, so say MM2K, me and you, the listener, we did a joint venture. We're going to open up a restaurant, okay? And we've opened up this restaurant, right? But we got some stiff competition around us, okay? So the guy across the street from our restaurant, he sells a popular sandwich that we sell too. We sit there and say, this guy's been here longer. He got saturation. Let's make our sandwich better. Taste a little bit better. All right. We get some people, hey, taste the sandwich. Then we buy their sandwich and we cut it up. And we have them taste their sandwich. And we say, which one you think is better? And more often than not, they point to our sandwich. And we say, well, that's our sandwich right here. That sandwich that you liked the least is their sandwich across the street. Their sandwich across the street is $5. We're selling our sandwich for $3. All right. So that's a localization of, you know, that type of competition, the CDC, consumer driven competition. That is the type of competition that 2K5 did. Okay. Right. Now let's go to the competition type 2. I like to refer to this type of competition as MDC competition. Market driven competition. This competition cutbacks maximum. It focuses on doing cutbacks in order to maximize profits, and it relies on investors upon implementation to spur growth. Now, what does that mean in English? Let me give you the Fortune 500 example. Microsoft in this exclusive situation. Instead of coming out with AAA games, sci-fi shooters that the core wants, you know what I'm saying? Since Quantum Break, we've seen Sea of Thieves, Super Lucky's Tale, Zoo Tycoon, Disney Rush, Phantom Dust with the original assets, Crackdown 3. You know, but because of implementation like Game Pass and them not really going hard and pushing the console, but pushing software sales and stuff like that and getting more into the service-based business, they have a leaner and meaner revenue packet than Sony. So now, what do I mean by that before you guys go all ape nuts? Sony is bringing in more raw money. But without Microsoft having to make the investments in pure hardcore consoles that are only going to support you for this generation, their investments are wide ranging. They're hardware agnostic. They have a wider reach. That's more attractive to the market. And as Phil said himself, the name of the game is selling less hardware and more software. So they're doing that. They're cutting their expenses. They're selling more software that maximizes their profits. Excuse me. And therefore, their financial prospect looks a lot more leaner, meaner, and tougher for the long term than Sony's does. Sony is making more money inherently because they're selling more hardware, so they're selling more software, but they've had to make investments. All those investments that they've made during this generation fully were supportive of this generation. Now it seems like they're making more investments that are going into next generation, but they're behind the curve. So that's raised the eyebrows of some analysts. And I'm not just making this up. This has been reported that Sony's gaming portfolio has been fringed upon by investors this year because they had a great 2018, but their 2019 doesn't look so great and nobody knows what direction they're going into. So even though the Sony consumer base is way more happier and a lot more engaged with 100 million to 40 million or maybe 45 million, they're a lot more engaged and a lot more enthusiastic as far as the market is concerned by Microsoft cutting and just making a lot of money, not as much as Sony, but making a lot of money, but minimizing their debts to make that money more so than Sony. It seems like they may have more revenue in the black, possibly, and look a little bit leaner and meaner for the long run to investors. But the end result, the caveat to that is, in order for Microsoft to do that, they had to give you dog crap for the last several years and try to dress it up as filet mignon. That's market-driven competition. Now, a localized example of that is instead of me, okay, say me and you still own that restaurant, right? Me and you still own that restaurant. And let's just say the person across the street comes out with a new juice that everyone loves. It's a little bit more expensive. You know what I'm saying? But to combat the fact that I cut the price of my sandwiches. Me and you did that stunt earlier where we compared our favorite sandwiches and people liked ours more and ours is $2 cheaper. he says, okay, well, I'm going to lower he's like, I'm going to come out with a similar juice to what you guys have. All right. And it's a little bit more expensive, but you ain't getting this juice nowhere else. So instead of me, so then in response to that time, I don't go with a customer-driven competition initiative. I go with a market-driven initiative. I tell people this is the same juice, or it gives you the same vitamin nutrients that their juice gives you. You know what I'm saying? It's $1 cheaper, or it's around the same price. But really, I'm getting a knockoff brand of juice. You know what I'm saying? It's made from concentrate. It's not fresh. Okay. And I get enough people to buy it. There may be more people buying his juice than mine. But at the end of the day, because my juice is so cheap, he may sell 20 glasses a day where I sell 15, right? 20 is more than 15. But if he's paying triple the amount that I am for my juice, then I'm making more revenue in the black than he is, making more profit. Do you understand? And let's just say I've signed a 30-year contract with my concentrate juice maker, and you're signing your contract year over year. We don't know if when you sign your contract next year, if the price is going to go up. You're using all fresh ingredients. I'm using non-fresh ingredients, but I've locked my price for 20 years. So anybody that wants to invest in my company that I show that to, they're going to say, oh man, you're really making out here. Now again, at the end of the day, people that want my cheaper sandwich got to deal with my crappier juice. But I'm making more money out of it. And that's kind of like the market-driven competition. I'm not forcing anything on anybody, but I'm not being the most forthright steward to the consumer. Okay. And then lastly, there's the ADC, the access-driven competition. Now, when it comes to access-driven competition, this is the type of competition where the strategy is a strategy of gaining market share, exclusive rights to a location, product, or service, being financial or trademark means. Now, what does that mean in English, MM2K? At a Fortune 500 level, this is what EA did when 2K5 came out. And 2K was about to knock them out their sneakers as far as NFL games were concerned. And EA responded and did some access-driven competition and got exclusive rights to the NFL players or the NFL. Or what Epic Game Store is doing. By paying publishers more money, they would gain through sales throughout the whole platform to sell exclusively on their store. That's access-driven competition. A localized example of that would be, I hear, or the people across the street hear, that you and I, the viewer, are making a slow roast sirloin steak sandwich, right? And we've been experimenting with this sandwich. People have tasted it. And they said, oh, it's the best damn steak sandwich that they've ever tasted in their life. And it slips out, it leaks, that my secret ingredient is like caramelized bourbon. It's like, so I graze it in bourbon, let it sit for a couple of days, and then so you hear that's my secret ingredient. You don't know quite how I'm doing it, but you know that if the sirloin steak sandwich comes out, that's going to really put you in a bad spot. You got a couple of choices. Because if it puts you in a bad spot, it's going to hurt you financially. You can either do some CDC competition, which is come out with an even better sandwich and make it cheaper. You can do some MDC competition, maybe to minimize the blow that you're going to get from my sandwich. Maybe cut back on your juice or some other things like I did, right? To maximize your revenue in the black or your profits. Or you can do ADC competition, which is, look, I'm not even going to go through the time, the R&D to come up with a sandwich. I ain't got time for that. I'm going to go put a copyright on the use of bourbon and steak sandwiches and leave it at that. And when I finally figure out your secret recipe, I may try to do it. But I'm putting an end to you and your dominance with this steak sandwich by just blotting out the possibility. That's the equivalency here of what Epic is doing. Instead of coming out with a decent product on the front lines for their consumer, they're just going to the developers and the publishers and they're saying, buy the, sell your product exclusively with us. We're going to give you more money. And they're just basically cutting off the options for the consumer. Me and that localized example going and doing a copyright of bourbon steak sandwiches to where now it can't be done by nobody else. And I have no intentions of coming out with one myself. I may promise, but it ain't here yet. Is that truly a form of competition that is good for you, the consumer? No, it's not. So simply my point is, people, is to stop talking in blanket black and white forms. I get it. The internet is full of the idiot herds. Let's take a notion and let's roll with it. But things are a little bit more complex sometimes, and if you don't have any experience with it, just take a few minutes and research. And stop caveating stuff to fit your narrative. Is this competition? Yes. Can competition be good? Yes. But it depends on how it's implemented. And as a consumer, you should only be concerned with consumer-driven competition. That's it. Now, with that said, now that we've brought light to the subject matter and we've gotten rid of all the dumb talk, let's talk about what needs to be done. First and foremost, publishers need to step up to the plate. I get it that y'all are getting a lot of money up front. And I get it. Y'all probably laughing at Epic and saying to yourselves, these damn idiots, they're not going to last a moment. They're not going to be able to mess with Steam like this. This is not going to happen. They're forcefully drawing people to their store. That's not going to retain them for the future because they're coming because they have to, because they're kicking and screaming. As soon as you open, if you kidnap somebody, and as soon as you open the door, they're going to run out. Epic can't sustain doing this. So they're doing this up front until they quote unquote implement their features. But by that time, you would have left the sour taste in the PC gamer's mouth and you're going to get abandoned. But what the publishers are saying is, look, man, we ain't going to leave this money on the table. So y'all going to deal with it for 6 months. And you know what? Again, I'm not mad at Epic, even though I called them out and called Epic lacking innovation, which they are. They've stolen everything that made them successful right now. They are not the same Epic of old. And Tim Sweeney is a hypocrite. That's not at the root of the problem. A dog is going to be a dog. The root of the problem is the publisher's taking his money. So publishers need to step up to the plate. Like how we had Randy Pitchford. Now, again, I understand he's the development CEO. But he wanted to get out here. But he's also got a publishing wing, too. He's a publisher as well. Gearbox has a publishing stint. So Randy Pitchford should get out here and say something. He should work with 2K, and they should really say something about this. Like, if you're going to cut off the open access that's reliant on the PC world, then you better come out with a hell of a product. And Epic has more money to come out with a hell of a product. And the publisher should be responsible. All right, you want to give me $100 million? Just give me $50 million. Give me $50 million and invest that other $50 million in at least dropping the price of the game. Like, if you want to give me $100 million, fine. Give me 50 million up front, and you use the other 50 million to drop the price of your game to like $34.99 on your store, so we can get more sales. And you cover the cost of the difference. Because $49.99 ain't the way, Sway. It ain't the way. When you can go to Green Man Gaming, GTA, and get a brand new $60 game for about $34.99 in a lot of cases. So dropping at $10 ain't the answer, Sway, to deal with your crappy store. It's not enough. What you should have done, again, gave them enough money up front and then cut back enough to do deeper cuts. $25 cut. Now that would be it, Chief. That would be it. But publishers need to step up to the plate. And by publishers not doing this, because we understand why Epic is doing it. And again, I'm not going to be mad at Epic for being a rabid dog. They are what they are. The publisher should know better. Because it's their games that we're buying. And in relation to that, gamers need to avoid Epic at all costs to show the no support for this Epic stuff. Just avoid the thing. I'm never utilizing a game on the Epic store. I already bought my Metro. I'll play it, and then that's it. Then I'm removing the Epic store, and I'll just take my losses, whatever. But boycott the games on the Epic store. Don't do the review bombing. I don't agree with the review bombing. Because the devs suffer from the review bombing. Okay? Because there are unbeknownst people that will see these reviews that may not be in tune right now. That may say, oh, I heard Borderlands 2 was good. And then they see those crappy reviews and they're like, oh, man, I guess it ain't that good. And they'll go about their business. I don't agree with the review bombing. But I do agree with boycotting the games, the current game that's being on the Epic Store. You can only, at the end of the day, all this whining and this podcasting and stuff that we're doing only matters if we're going to hit them in the pocket. All this means nothing if the same people that are out here whining and complaining goes to the Epic Store and they buy Borderlands 3. Or they buy Obsidian's new game, Overworld, or whatever the hell. I can't remember what that game is going to be called. If y'all go and buy that, then this all is for naught. It means nothing. So gamers need to avoid the Epic Store at all costs and boycott the games themselves that are showing up on the Epic Store, not review bombing or hating on previous works, because that hurts the devs. That hurts the devs, and we don't want to hurt the devs. I'm one that's truly for the devs. I didn't mind the DRM. I thought it was a cool idea. You could game share up to 10 people like how you're doing with Steam, right? That was cool to me. You know, I was a physical game holder type person. But, you know, I was willing to make this. It was more, the Switch was more beneficial. And I wasn't this grand conspiracist. The camera's always watching me. I wasn't one of those. Rocks well people. If I was worried about the damn camera, I would just unplug it. If the system had to do with 24-hour, what's it called? Being that I game a lot on PC, that's like me making sure I turn on my PC every day to see if there's any Windows updates. It's no big deal. It's not going to break the bank. It wasn't that serious, Chief. Big ups to the homie White King Kong with his craziness. He says, I prefer Epic to Steam. Actually, White King Kong, you are a nut. There's nothing to prefer about Epic to Steam. You are crazy. Well, that's my homie White King Kong. Glad, hey, man, good to see you again. Love your support, man. And lastly, I think Epic needs to split the payments like I mentioned earlier to come up off some of that cash that they're giving. Not the 88-12 split. You want to do the 88-12 split? Fine. That's in correlation with using the Unreal Engine? Fine. But all this extra money that they're giving on top of that, cut some of that back. Stop being so sleazy and come up with a better product. I'm going to give you an example. Somebody was hitting me in my DMs, right? Pause. And they was like, MM2K, help me understand. Like, what is so bad about the Epic Store? Like, I don't really get the issue. Person really doesn't game on PC, right? And that's fine. That's their choice. When I talk all this PC master race and peasants and Prius, it's just for sake of entertainment. You ain't got a game on PC. Whatever. You're missing out on an experience if you're willing to relinquish the plug and play factor. You don't game on PC, whatever. It's not the end of the world. With that being said, so I broke it down to them. So I asked them, what is your favorite snack? Person said Funyuns. I said, cool. So you can get Funyuns everywhere, right? Imagine one day you got to re-up on some Funyuns and you find out that the only store you can get these Funyuns at now are MM2K's Dusty Sweatshop. You know what I'm saying? And you can't get them nowhere else. You can't get them in your corner store. You can't go to Walmart. You can't go get the big bag from Sam's Club or any other, wholesale store. You got to come to MM2K's Dusty Sweatshop. The closest one is maybe 2 hours away from you, but you really want these Funyuns. So you just say, all right, I'm going to drive out there, go get them in bulk. It is what it is. I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to deal with it. It is what it is. You get out to my shop, and not only is it roach infested, but the roaches are advanced, right? The roaches are like, did you jip me in line? They're talking to you. Some even got jobs there, right? Then you find out, you say, well, while I'm here, I spent all this money, might as well go food shopping. You find out that not only are the Funyuns spoiled, but all the other food is spoiled. Everything's expired. Then to make it all worse, the place is still 90% under construction. It's going to get better in 6 months, they tell you. Trust us. But hey, come and get your Funyuns. I said, would you be happy? And I kind of didn't get like a response about the Funyun thing, but you know what I'm saying? The discussion kept going back to, I don't get it about PC, but I said, I'm trying to bring it home for you. Would you go still out there and deal with the Funyuns, or would you go call up Frito-Lay and say, look, hey, no, Chief, this ain't it. This ain't it. You're going to lose me, and you're going to lose a whole bunch of companies. This is bull crap. MM2K Sweatshop, they're roach infested for what? I ain't even got to go nowhere else. I ain't even got to talk about the spoiled food. Now, again, I get it, that's chips, but I'm just saying, like, bring this stuff home when y'all think about it. And again, I'm using more game-relevant scenarios. Y'all talking about, even though it's not good for the consumer at first, it's good for the devs at first, and that's all we should be concerned about when it comes to this, and it eventually benefit us. If that is the case, then y'all should have been happy with the Xbox DRM in 2013. Because that was good for the devs. That was putting more money in their pocket. But y'all weren't having that because it directly affected you now. And you weren't trying to hear, oh, it's going to benefit you in the long run. All you care about is the now. So if that's the case, then you got to understand how hypocritical and silly you sound by telling people that are upset about Epic, well, this is only a timed exclusive. You ain't got to deal with this later, but gaming is a selfish hobby. It's all about the now. If it wasn't, y'all would have supported DRM with Xbox. If it didn't matter, y'all wouldn't have cared that Record Zone didn't have gaming lobbies when it first released. Do you see the hypocrisy? It's oozing. And with that, my friends, is it for the Epic Game Store. I want to talk Borderlands 3 in general, real quick. Borderlands 3, even though it's coming to the Epic Store, which I think is really going to bite them in the butt, because games really do well within its first 6 months, so it's going to bite them in the butt, at least on PC. They'll do well on console. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen is those same people that are going to have those lackluster features through the Epic Store, they're not going to wait. They're just going to buy it on console. And this might, in the long run, this might work out for the Xbox One X. Because the Xbox One X is known to perform a little bit better. If Digital Foundry says that it performs better and that word gets out there, then people might invest in an Xbox One X for Borderlands 3. And that has that much of a cult following. So it might actually work out for Microsoft and Xbox. Because they're still going to want to play it, but they're going to want to play it at the best performance they can. And if that proves to be the Xbox One X, then they'll get it on the Xbox One X. Now, if most of their console friends are on PlayStation, then they'll get it on PlayStation. And the Xbox One X performance won't matter. But Borderlands is one of those games, or was one of those games where you can enjoy it by yourself, but you can enjoy it more with friends, but it really didn't matter. I wasn't a big fan of 2. So because I wasn't a big fan of 2, and everything that Gearbox has touched, in my opinion, since 2, has been dog crap. I mean, let's look at it. Duke Nukem was a lie of a game, and they charge you what I think full retail for that. Then they charge you $60 for that. That was a travesty. That was a travesty. Then you had the Aliens game that they came out with, where they messed up the aliens because someone in the coding, instead of put the word tether that would make the aliens work in a smart way, they put the word teether, like I'm teething, and it messed up the coding and why the aliens were just so stupid and the gameplay was so lackluster. Then you had the Bulletstorm reboot that really meant nothing. I mean, I know Kotaku did a recent story on it, but nobody cared about that game. Nobody cares. Then you had them get involved in We Happy Few, and We Happy Few is just trash. It's garbage. And then lastly, they go to do the show at PAX East, and they damn demo, the biggest thing that Gearbox is coming out with in years, is done on Media Player for a 4K rendered video. Now I get it. Y'all probably listening to that and y'all say, MM2K, stop it. Gearbox did not control that equipment. But how hard is it to bring a laptop with you and that's rendered with codecs and video playing software that could do 4K video properly? The moment you saw them trying to play your video on Media Player, that should have raised eyebrows and flags. And someone should have pulled out the laptop and said, oh no, hell no. Use this. And if you did have anybody checking on that, that's your damn fault, Gearbox. This is the biggest announcement that you're making in years. This is going to help with your bounce back. And you did not have the checks and balances in place to make the biggest announcement that your company is dealing with in years. So with that being said, I'm telling you, the Gearbox that I grew up with, the Gearbox that did the Brother in Arms, and the Borderlands 1 and all the other stuff that they did around that time, prior to Borderlands 2, they no longer exist. That Gearbox is gone. The Gearbox you have now is the Gearbox that's doing too much, getting sued all over the place, all types of accusations, and can't punch themselves out of a wet paper bag. Handsome Jack was nothing. You know, I mean, everything that they've touched after Borderlands 2 fell to garbage in a burning blaze. Everything from the development stint to their publishing stint. What was the superhero shooter that they came out with that now's at the 5 and below? It was like at 5 and below, like 5 weeks after release. That tried to compete with, I forgot, the name escapes me. That crashed and burned. Everything that Gearbox has touched has crashed and burned, and I do not have any faith in Borderlands 3. And this time I'm sticking to that, because my next segment is very important. I didn't stick to that my guns the last segment, but I'm sticking to it this one with Borderlands 3. I have no faith in Borderlands 3. I have no faith in it. Gearbox is doing too much. They have too much on their plate. With that said, I want to talk about Anthem before I go. Kotaku came out with this expose. Oh, God. Now, this is relative to my Borderlands 3 message. With Borderlands 3, hold on. Okay. So when Borderlands, when Anthem came out, I was one of the original people that said I have no faith in Anthem. I have no faith in it, right? Then I played Anthem. And I played the demo, and I played a little bit of it towards the beginning, and I was excited and ecstatic. I said, this game is fantastic. And then I didn't progress through the game because Metro came out, and then Division's come out, and I really haven't finished the game. But people that have finished the game have said that it's seriously lackluster in what do you call it? It's seriously lackluster in game. Like, it's worse than Destiny ever was. And come to find out, there was a reason why. And big ups to Jason Schreier. Again, no matter what you think about Jason Schreier, he's a fantastic gaming investigative reporter. And he's talked to dozens and dozens of people who's gotten some serious accounts, and Bioware is in trouble. And I know we sat there and we said we didn't want Bioware to get dissolved, but Bioware it sounds like Bioware is only essential in name only. Like, this is not the Bioware that we know. I don't even know if they can be saved, but it sounds like that you had two problems going on with the development of this game and just overall at Bioware. Problem number one is EA. Let's deal with the 500-pound elephant in the room. EA's a problem. EA's management style is horrendous. Number one, they don't do the checks and balances when they're supposed to. Like, for instance, in this expose, Jason reports that 5 years after the kickoff of Anthem, the guy that's responsible at EA for Overwatch and Bioware finally stops by to see how the game is progressing. After 5 years, he plays it and he's like, I don't like it. This is not what you promised me. By that time, Anthem was already slotted to where it could go no later than first quarter of 2019 or whatever their fiscal year, whatever they call it for their fiscal year. So the date that it released, it couldn't go no later than that because EA does not play releasing things out of their deadlines for fiscal years. They're not flexible like a Sony, who in comparison, when Yoshida saw the original implementation of the God of War reboot, which he did early, thank goodness, he said, I don't like this. I don't like where you're going with this. This is not good. And guess what? Cory Barlog and company were able to go to the drawing board. It took them 7 years to finish, but they got that input early. Early. No such thing happened at Bioware 2 years before it released. And a game like Anthem needed, it was still in pre-production. And this is not 2 years in production. It was in pre-production. You finally take a look at the game. And it's no good. It's no good. So they had to scramble. And really the game only had, if the estimates are right, even though it went into post-production, it had 2 years of it had 2 years of production. But the actual coding and programming is estimated to happen to anywhere between 12 to 9 months. So that's why we got what we got. That's why we got the load screens. That's why it don't look the way it did at the like it did for the demo, the E3 demo. We got the load screens. You can't see the weapons until you go back to Fort Tarsus, and a bunch of other things, other problems. Dialogue that talks about people not being there that are sitting right next to you. It's horrendous. All that was supposed to be caught by EA in advance. If you're going to hold somebody tight to a deadline, then just, then do a pulse check. That's what good leaders do. And EA is not a good leader. I don't think they mean to do evil. They're just piss poor at their job. And what has to happen at EA is there needs to be a CEO change. There needs to be a Microsoft level. No. Bigger than a Microsoft level, because all Microsoft did was change its seat. Well, no. I'm sorry. There needs to be a Microsoft level change, but it needs to go a lot deeper than what it did at Xbox, because really there weren't any changes of the guard at Xbox except for Donnie D left. And I think Xbox should have been cleaned out a lot more than that. But the people at EA need to be gutted and rerouted. They're just a horrible company. And they're forcing everybody to use Frostbite, which Frostbite is not ideal for this type of game, to save money. And it's costing them in the long run, which is stupid. Someone should have realized this a long time ago and just continued to work with a third party. But that's here nor there. So I put the biggest blame on EA still. And I'm not one of those EA haters. You know what I'm saying? EA has good games in their portfolio, but they're horrible leaders. Where Activision is just grimy leaders. I hate what Activision is all about. But then, of course, you got to blame Bioware. Because according to Jason's writings, Bioware said this Bioware magic is going to happen. And a lot of game developers think that way. You got to listen and read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason as well. Blood, Sweat, and Pixels is an excellent read. And in that book, he talks about how there's just chaos in game development, but the good developers just figure we work that magic out at the end. And in BioWare, I think even with too much writing on the wall, they were too superstitious and think that things would just fall together. That was a strategy of theirs. And as I've always said, the biggest problem with game developers, even though I may not be a game developer, but I do coding. I do a lot of coding in my position. I oversee a lot of coding, right? And I'm about to transition into doing it even more than I've ever done in my 22-year career. I can tell you this much, that there is an artistic element to making video games that complicates it further. And I can only begin to imagine. But the problem with a lot of video games is there's not enough structure. There's not enough consistent structure to manage all these moving parts. It's too willy-nilly. And that's because the people that are at these boards may be gamers, but they're not former developers. I think you need to get a lot more former developers at these higher levels of executive places in game development to help push better deadlines. I think that would help out a lot. And BioWare's to blame because they don't have good management anymore. They have piss poor management. One of the biggest things that boggled me is, when I played Epic, I was like, when I played Anthem, I said Anthem is going to be fine once I played it. I said because they have the team that was responsible. They have the part of BioWare that was responsible for that Star Wars online game that started had a rocky start, but you know, learned a lot and became a successful online game, from what I understand. They have them there. They have that experience. So they're going to leverage them. And come to find out, they didn't leverage them. They didn't leverage them at all, as far as the online components and stuff like that. And what makes a great online service-based game. They had them do grind work instead of consulting them. And that was idiotic. So there were big leadership problems at Bioware, where it's not the Bioware saying. And there are even bigger leadership problems at EA. EA just needs to be gutted. Bioware needs to get someone dedicated there to get that ship together. But all of the pure talent left, and I think it's because there's things going on at EA. And a lot of it has to do with that Frostbite engine. And EA, I can't fathom why a company can't see, even after Jason's first book that exposed all this. I don't understand why they keep doing this. It's silly. It's idiotic. And it makes you wonder, and I'm going to say this before I go. It makes you wonder, if Microsoft would have bought BioWare after Mass Effect 1, let them do their things for 2, how would a 3 panned out? Would a 3 had a more robust ending? Likely so. That would have satisfied them. I mean, I get what BioWare was doing with the ending, because they were just ending an arc and they were going to start a new one and leave the ending of the first arc mysterious so they can give you like surprises in the second one. However, would they have been able to do it in a way that was that seemed a little less grimy to a lot of the consumers and would have been a little bit more favorable? I bet so. And would BioWare be a better company today? I think even with a lot of the crazy stuff that's been going on at Microsoft, I think BioWare would have been Microsoft's Naughty Dog. They know how to make good-looking games. They know how to make engaging stories. They know how to make great action. And I think that would have been tipped the scale in their favor even over Naughty Dog. People may like Last of Us, but there is a growing murmur when people talk about those games. And it's the gameplay. Like, the gameplay isn't solid consistently. You'll have your levels like the helicopter level in 2 and the back of the truck level at 4 that are like, wow. But you don't get that consistently in their games, where BioWare consistently knows how to take all those elements that Naughty Dog is good at, and they know how to throw that action piece in there too and do that in a superb fashion too. Well, they knew how to do it. Would they have been a better company? Makes you wonder. But that's here nor there now, because they're in trouble. But with that said, that's all I had, man. That's all I had. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody that listened. Let me see who's all out in the chat. Big up to the homie Philosopher Doom that came back. Devil Shooter, the Assassin 596. Appreciate you. 706 Gamer, Daniel B. And one White Kong, man. One White Kong is crazy, man. That's my homie. So that's it for the Prognosis. It was long, and I apologize for the snafu earlier, but I want to thank you very much for joining us. We will do this regularly. I'll come up with a schedule. But again, listen to the PNTS Network lineup of shows. You know what I'm saying? I'd really appreciate if y'all did that. Again, we got Vitamin G Podcast. We got Scram Punks. And we got more shows coming in. All not video game related. All other, you know, some of them are in other forms of entertainment. You know, we got some things brewing. So definitely stay tuned to what we're going to do. Because it's going to be interesting. And then Broadband Bullies got a lot of stuff coming too. So more on that soon. Brother Z will release that. But with that being said, I appreciate everybody for coming through. And as always, you have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.